is achieving our optimal health, one healthy habit at a time. So I was talking to a client that I work with, a health and wellness coach, and she was expressing her frustration of how hard it is to keep healthy. All of a sudden she has a plan in her mind, she's all set, she's motivated, and next thing you know, she's driving through the road to wherever she's going, and next thing you know, there's a drive-through, and boom, next thing she knows, she finds herself going through McDonald's or going through a Dunkin', ordering something not healthy, and then she's kicking herself afterwards. What happened? I thought I had it. I thought I was on the right track. You know, I was very motivated. I was right in there. And the same thing. Another client told me that she was also very, very motivated. She had a hard day at work. She got through all the temptations at her office. Next thing you know, there's a bag of chips in her house, and 5 minutes later, it's gone. Anyone else relate to this?
Sure.
Yes, I know, I definitely do. So why is it so hard to keep healthy? What exactly is the challenge that we have? Like, we all know what we're supposed to be doing, right? We all know we're supposed to be healthy, we're supposed to exercise, we're not supposed to eat specific kinds of foods that are super fattening. So what happens? Why is it so hard for us to actually keep healthy when we know intellectually what we're supposed to be doing? So we all have the quick tips and motivations. We know about sleeping, we know about drinking water. We're supposed to work out every day, but are we actually getting healthier as a country? Are we actually getting healthier as a world when we have all this information, all this knowledge at our fingertips? And just look at the statistics, and I'm sure everyone's aware of statistics, but in terms of the 37% obesity rate, the over 70% overweight across the country, and also the amount of weight-related diseases are skyrocketing with heart disease, diabetes, prediabetes, and all those things. So what exactly is going on? If we actually know what we're supposed to be doing, why are we not doing it? Do we actually really know what we're doing? So I had a coworker who, I used to work in a nursing home as a social worker. He was another nurse, a unit manager, and he was probably about 275 pounds. Around my height, maybe 2 inches taller. And I spoke to him because he knew I was getting involved in health and wellness, and he's like, yeah, I know exactly what to do. If I want to be healthier, I could do it, right? I can get to my ideal weight. I can avoid temptations. I can starve myself for a week and lose 10 pounds, and I'll be good to go. So it hit me ironically that as a nurse and a healthcare professional, and he had this mentality of like, yeah, if I wanted to, I could, but I don't really want to, which I find kind of intriguing, because when you're, especially in the nursing home I was working in, you could see the impact that weight actually had on the patients. So I used to think that we just need to put ideas into practice, and we'll be good to go, right? Just, okay, I'm gonna eat healthy, I'm gonna exercise, and that's good to know. And it made me reflect back on when I was sitting in front of my doctor, which was always intimidating as a kid, because I was always a obese kid, even reached morbid obesity at one point. And my parents had tried everything, and every year going to the doctor was the same drill. I knew exactly what was going to happen, I knew what he was going to tell me, I knew exactly I was going to nod my head, yes, exactly, I'm supposed to be doing that. And then 11 years ago was a whole different spin on it. Now, even though I knew what he was going to say, I knew I had tried Weight Watchers, I had tried Slim Fast, I had tried all these different programs, but all of a sudden, I get myself, and the only reason I went to the doctor is because I used to go to sleepaway camp, and the only way to get into sleepaway camp is you need a history and physical, and that was the only reason I went to the doctor, otherwise I avoided it. So camp is helping me keep healthy. So I knew he was going to tell me that I just figured, you know, like I'm just going to be overweight, I'm just going to be obese the rest of my life, and I knew that, okay, whenever I buy pants, it's going to be a size husky. After meals, I'm just going to always get out of breath. That's just the way it's going to be. Always be embarrassed about how I look in pictures, and always just eat for the sake of eating because food is delicious. And I knew I resigned myself to that fact that was going to be who I was. But there are times in our lives where we have to reach the lows of the lows before we can reach the highs of the highs. And 11 years ago is when it really changed my mind. That moment I remember it very vividly. I had just gotten off the scale at the doctor's office, and I was 267 pounds. And I was sitting on that butcher paper on the doctor's office chair. I had just seen the scale, and I was shocked. and I knew the doctor was going to come in. You know, the nurses, you try to like move the scale a little bit. It wasn't exactly that, but at this point I'm like, you know, it is what it is. And then we had the talk. We had that talk, like, you know, you got to get healthier. But this time he changed it a little bit. This time he told me, based on my cholesterol, which is probably about 300 at that point, and he told me, like, you're in serious health risk for a heart attack in the next 3 years. Hearing that as an 18-year-old, hearing that I could have a heart attack when I was 21, and knowing that my father had a heart attack when he was in his 40s, I don't know if it was very related, but it definitely was cholesterol related. It really hit me hard, and I took a step back, and I thought about it like, wow, that is really scary, and I really have to make a change. So I asked him, okay, doc, what you got for me? He said, oh, you know, just eat healthier and work out and lose weight. And I realized, like, wait a minute, I know that. That already I know. I know exactly what I'm supposed to be doing, right? But I realized that doctors are trained with the knowledge of what the health, the textbook health, but in terms of strategies, in terms of ideas and tips and how to help their patients get healthier, they're not equipped with that. Doctors don't have that in them, and aside from the fact that a lot of times they don't even have the time to deal with that, especially with different billing, and I've heard it all. They don't have the time, and I figured that even after that talk, like, I know I love food, and that really, it gave me a shock value. It definitely changed my perspective on what I'm supposed to be doing, but still I love food too much to really make a difference. Yes?
What's your height?
5'9". So I think my BMI was about 40. No, 30. 40, yeah. So BMI is 25 is normal, 30 is obese, I was about 40. Size 56 suit, to put in perspective. So anyone else have that we know what we're supposed to do, but food just tastes so good, it helps us with our emotions, whatever it is. And that really was something that I was struggling with that as an 18-year-old and even a few years after that. And again, this is what really hit me, that there are really times when we have to hit the lowest of the lows, and sitting at that doctor's office, that was really a low point in my life in order to reach the highest of the highs. And a few years went back, and I took a little different route. I started working with a health coach. Instead of just trying to do it on my own, I started to get some help and do it with a coach. He had his own personal transformation. It was a friend of mine in school, and I was working with him, and thank God I was being successful. He gave me a structured eating plan. I was losing weight, and it was effective, but I was confused because he kept on telling me that you're not on a diet. Diets don't work. Diets are a myth. It's not actually good for long term. You're not on a diet. So I asked him, so what do you mean? If I'm losing weight, isn't that what a diet is? Isn't that what I'm doing? So it hit me that it wasn't really what I was doing was dieting, because what is a diet? A diet is a short-term plan, sometimes a deprivation, that brings you to healthy weight. Hopefully it's in a safe and effective manner. And hoping once you get to that point, you'll figure out how to keep healthy. The goal is to just drop 50 pounds by the next week, and then after that you'll figure it out. You'll just start eating healthier after that. But let me ask you a question. If I struggled for 22 years, when I finally took care of myself, I was 22. If I struggled for 22 years, I was overweight and obese and even morbidly obese, and even if just going for, let's say, 3-4 months of just losing weight rapidly, would I be able to just figure out how to eat healthy after 22 years of building that habit? I don't think so. If I had the same mindset about food and nutrition that I had a few years back or a few months back, then there's inevitable that I'm just going to return back to my old habits and my old weight. It's not even possible to keep the weight off, and that's what I was experiencing as a kid, having that yo-yoing effect of losing weight with some fasting, gaining it back, losing weight with Weight Watchers, gaining it back. That was my experience. So I learned through my journey that there are specific strategies and plans that we can use and to move us from an unhealthy state to really a healthy state for long-term health. And that's the goal. Everyone's goal, whatever long-term health means to everyone, that's very different. For some people, it's running a marathon. For some people, it's getting on the floor with their grandchildren. For some people, it's just living till they're in their 90s. Whatever it means, it's very personal. But it needs to you need to build the habits. So what did this plan do? Did it involve healthy eating? Yes, of course it did. Did it involve exercise? Yes. So why is it any different? Because before we get to make changes, before we get to the actual plan itself, So the first step is to figure out what is our why. And everyone has a different motivation, a different reason why they want to get healthier. And I heard a great quote the other day. It says the wise, W-I-S-E, the wise people know their whys. They know their reasons. So before we get that, I wanted to ask everyone to do a little exercise if you want. I have some papers I can hand out quickly. If it's something, and you can do this here, you can take it home, whatever you'd like. Just some here. Just pass it around. Just do it mentally, that's fine as well. And this is an exercise I learned a few months ago. It's called the 7 levels deep. Right? And this really changed my perspective on how I could use tools and different techniques to really get healthier. So if you take a moment and close your eyes and try to visualize why you personally want to get healthier. What is your reason to get healthy? And again, it has to be personal. It's not for someone else. It's not for an external necessarily, but what exactly do you want to get healthy? And again, this exercise can be used for any area of life. It can be used for why you want to get wealthier. It can be why you want to work on your marriage. It can be why you want anything you want. This exercise is very, very powerful. So what is your personal motivation? Try to think of something for yourself. Because you need to put on, and I get reminded of this every single time I go on the airplane when they say, put on your own oxygen mask before you help others. Because if you're not taking care of yourself, you can't help other people the same way, if at all. So then you first think of the reason, why do I want to get healthier, right? And then you ask yourself, why is that important to me? Why is that reason important to me? And if you want to do it now, I encourage that if possible, whether on paper or in your head. And then you ask yourself a third time, why is that important to me? Well, we just answered for number 2, why is that important to me? Then you go through a 4th time. When you have that answer clear, why is that important to me? And then you go to 5th, and then a 6th, and a 7th, and that, let me share my own. So I did this exercise a few months ago, and I went for the first one was, why is health important to me? So my first one was, I want to be able to have energy. I want to have the ability to do things I want to do without feeling lethargic. I have 2 young daughters, 5 and 3, I have a wife, and I want to be able to be part of the family and do things with having the energy to do that. So why was that important to me to have the energy? Is so that I could be there for my kids. I could be there for my wife, be able to do things with them. Then I asked myself a third time, why is that important to me? So my personal answer, and again, everyone has different answers, because they deserve it. They're wonderful people. They deserve a healthy father and a healthy spouse to be involved in their lives. So why is that important for me? Why is it important that they deserve it, that to have a healthy husband? And that's when it started getting deeper. The 4th and 5th is really when it starts to get deep. For me, it was because they mean the world to me. Then the 5th one was because I love them so much. The 6th level was because when I'm with my wife and kids, it brings me a level of support and connection, having that amazing bond. And then why that's important for me? Because it makes me feel valued as a person. It makes me feel loved and valued by having that connection with my kids, by having that connection with my spouse. That makes me feel valued as a person, as an individual. So when I first started out, when I first started thinking about why I want to get healthier, my reason was because I want to have the energy. But what that really turned into was that I want to be healthier because it adds value to me as a person. And that's real intrinsic motivation. That's what when they say intrinsic motivation, what they mean is that what really deep down this will do to us. And we all have things on the level, and sometimes we've thought about it already. We took it down a level, we took it down 2 levels, and we really realized, like, for example, if someone has, because my clothes don't fit me anymore, and I need to lose weight to have my clothes fit. Why? Because that reflects on a self-image. Why is that important? Because it makes me feel valued. It can be the same thing, but we all have personal reasons that if we take it deep down, we can really change our daily choices. We can make a huge difference in our life because, again, if I'm confronted with a candy bar, I'm confronted by a drive-through Dunkin' Donuts. If I have, okay, $9 not eating a donut will give me a little bit more energy, then I'm not as motivated to really deal with it. I'm like, you know what? I'll have more energy tomorrow. It's fine. This one donut's not going to do anything. But if this donut is taking away from my value as a person, if this is taking away from my connection to my family, then there's no way that this donut's going to impact me the same way as it would otherwise. So that's really the first step, and I go through this with my clients all the time because a lot of them will say, yeah, I want to just get healthier because that's what I'm supposed to do, right? I'm supposed to get healthier because it's good for me for longevity or whatever it is, but what exactly is motivating? And they get into situations where when we have temptations in front of us and we don't have a clear idea of what our motivation is, then the temptations can derail us very easily. Because yes, I want my clothes to fit a little bit better, but this thing is my coworker's having a birthday, and there's cake on the table. It's a free cake. How could I pass it up? It's my favorite type from the Publix bakery. So okay, fine. I'll give in this time. It's not going to make a difference. But if every single time we focus on the fact that this is why I want to be healthier because this is going to impact me as a person, and deep down this is what I really need, then that's going to change the way we look at food, that change the way we look at our daily choices. If anyone want to share theirs? Anyone here want to? No pressure at all. No? Okay.
Just have me up on one donut, like anybody would really stop and eat one donut.
Right, that's true. And sometimes it's the second, third, and half a dozen that we're dealing with. That's for sure. Yeah. So that's part of it. So the first step is really taking a step back and figuring out what exactly are we working towards, right? A lot of the personal development gurus out there talk about when you get to a goal, you have to know where you are right now. We also have to know what our goal is, and we have to know, is our goal actually real, and is it actually what we're trying to achieve, or is there so much deeper down that we really could achieve? And again, everyone's always, if you take a poll out there, everyone's working on getting healthier for the most part. I would say probably 90% of people are actively working on getting healthier, whatever that means. Whether it means getting a healthier weight, whether it's making better food choices, sleeping better, drinking more, working out, whatever it is, everyone's trying to do it. So the first step is getting motivation, but what's after that, right? So let's take a deeper dive into what we can do about that. So there's once a comedian, a bunch of years ago, a few decades ago, and in his own words, he said, I wasn't really a good comedian. My jokes were terrible, I wasn't funny, no one really laughed at my jokes. People might have laughed out of pity, but that's really about it. But I decided that from when I was younger, I said, I'm going to make one joke a day. I'm going to make a commitment to myself to write down one joke a day. And building it again and again and again to really work on, because the more you use your creativity, the better you'll be. And he just kept on doing it one day after another, and that's what he said was his secret to success, and he became Jerry Seinfeld. So it's about the habits, the daily habits, the daily repetitions that we do that really make a difference. So if we were trying to build healthier habits, we need to commit to choosing to working on them on a daily basis. If we have those moments where we're like, I'll be healthy for the weekdays, Monday through Friday, I've got that covered. Friday night through Sunday night, it's fine. I don't need to work on that right now. But if we need to make a daily habits, daily commitments to ourselves, again, because we have that real intrinsic motivation, that's going to be our key. And there's a quote from Aristotle. It says that we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but rather a habit. Again, that was, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but rather a habit. Because every choice we make has a consequence. Every choice we do impacts every other area of our life. I know myself that if I've had times where I overate, then I feel lethargic and I can't do the same things afterwards, and then it could be a downward cycle. So really making our optimal health choices on a consistent basis is really the key to success. And building those habits, building those healthy habits, is how we can succeed in our goals. The problem is, though, I hate to throw a problem out there, the problem is that a lot of times you don't see the consequences, right? If I go grab a candy bar, if I go grab a donut, if I go and have very happy hour, and I don't realize what the consequences. Okay, fine. It was a one-time thing. It was like a quick, I don't know, an extra 20 grams of sugar. What difference does that make? It's not going to really impact me on the way we do it. So that's really the challenge. The challenge is we don't always see the immediate consequences. And there's a story about a CEO who would go out to lunch every day. He seemed to be at a healthy weight. He'd have one hamburger every day, and that was his choice. And all of a sudden, when he reached the age of 56, that's when he had a heart attack. Why? Because there's a daily choice. Every single hamburger itself didn't make a difference, but doing that day in, day out, and not paying attention to what he was doing, that built up to those unhealthy habits that built up to a scary situation. And if we're self-aware, we might actually notice it in the moment. I actually had a client of mine, a teenager, and I was speaking to him about he was trying to work on his challenges. His challenges was night binging, which I'm sure I'm not the only one who has had that challenge, and he's not either. That sometimes we can realize, we can be self-aware of how we're feeling, and there are a lot of people that talk about journaling when you're going through a challenge, whether you succumb or not, it doesn't make a difference, but having that self-awareness of what it's doing to you, pay attention to how lethargic you feel afterwards, pay attention to your mood. I know people that tell me they want to get healthier because they feel like they're grouchy to their kids when they're not eating properly, and it really impacts their mood. And whether their work efficiency, and depending on how large of a lunch they are, when 2 o'clock comes in the office at 3 o'clock, and next thing you know, I can't do a stitch of work till I get home at 5, that makes a difference for us. That all the different things that we're self-aware that our negative choices and our positive choices have for us. And there are studies that show that how many choices, if I had to take a guess, how many food choices would you say we make each day? Anyone want to guess?
3 times.
3 times?
Lunch and dinner.
Right, okay. Anyone else? So there are studies out there that say we make over 200 food choices each day. Doesn't mean we eat 200 times a day. I hope not. It means that, because it just, even something as simple, right? So let's say for breakfast I'm having a bowl of cereal. How much cereal am I pouring in? How much milk am I pouring in? Am I going to go for doubles? How much am I going to go back to the cabinet and eat something else? Am I going to pass a fast food? Am I going to go? Am I not going to go? If I do go, am I going to take a large? Am I going to take a medium? All these different choices we make over 200 choices a day. And whether it means I'm going to have a handful of almonds, will I go for a second handful? Will I go for a third handful? Will I, in the middle, I'll realize I shouldn't have a third. Will I put some back? Will I not put some back? All these different things that we're doing really impact, and everything helps build on itself. So we need to be conscious of what we're doing. A lot of times, I'm just pouring cereal, I don't know what I'm doing, right? And next thing you know, half the box is empty, and whatever, I had breakfast. So how do we build the new habits? How do we, once we're self-aware, right? First we have the motivation, we have to know what we're aiming for, then we have to realize that the habits are really the key to getting us there. So how do we build new habits? So just want to give it a little explanation on how habits work. There's a habit loop, it's called a cue, routine, and reward, and there's a lot of studies on this. Charles Duhigg had a whole book on this, The Power of Habit, which I highly recommend. It talks about there's a cue, a routine, and a reward. Everything we do has a cue, a routine, and a reward. A cue is a situation, a place, a time of day, who we're near. The routine is what we're actually doing, whether we're having a drink. I'm just going to focus on the negative habits, just for argument's sake. Having a drink, binge watching, binge eating, and it could be in any area of life, right? It could be getting into an argument with your spouse. It could be dozing off at work. It could be whatever it is. There's things that we have. And then the reward is what we get from that. So if let's say, for example, take binge eating, because that's something I deal with a lot with clients, and I've worked on myself a lot. The reward is the boredom, and a lot of times we eat because of whether we're bored, whether we're stressed, whether we're lonely, whether we're tired. There's a good acronym out there to keep us from being self-aware, called HALT. HALT is an acronym that goes, there's different emotional eatings. H is for hungry, if you're just hungry and eating too much. A is for angry, L is for lonely, and T is for tired. And these are just some ideas of what we can take with us. So that's what happens with the habit loop. You have a habit loop where you have the same cue, and you have the cue is, it's after supper, I'm watching TV. The action is, I'm gonna go and grab a drink or grab a few pieces of a cake or cookies, whatever it is. And the reward is that I feel good temporarily. I have that temporary feeling of reward. Or taking some shots. But instead, if I have that habit ingrained, for me to just say, I'm just not gonna watch TV, is not always feasible. If it's possible, if you know that's a trigger situation, and that's something you can avoid, that's great. A lot of times I'll say, oh, I can't go into the kitchen. You're never gonna go into the kitchen the rest of your life. That's not practical. So sometimes you have to acclimate for what you're gonna do. So for example, a cue is when you finish dinner, instead of watching TV, you can go on a walk with your spouse. You can walk your dog. You can call a friend. You can give yourself a manicure or whatever it is. There are things that we can do instead of the activity, or what I like to do personally is that I'll keep the same cue, sometimes doing the same activity, but I'll have a water bottle next to me. I'll chew sugar-free gum, things like that, where we can really either replace the habit completely, or we can acclimate it towards a healthier option. So that's how we prepare beforehand, right? If we know that this is something that we're struggling with, this situation, it could be at work, and you know every Thursday the entire staff's going to get together for a big party, or you know that, I don't know, in the breakfast it's when you're half awake and you want to keep dozing off and you want to keep snoozing an hour for another hour or something like that. So how do we do it in the moment, right? So that's something that we can prepare in advance, right? There's two aspects. We can prepare in advance, or we have to choose in the moment, which is more likely the times when we find ourselves struggling, right? Because if I know that I'm doing something I'm not supposed to be doing, it's very easy to just, you know what, I'll work on it next time. I'll just finish it, and then I'll continue another time. So there's a Dr. Wayne Scott Anderson, who's a critical physician, and he saw that he had a need to get people healthier because he saw so many diseases that were stemming from health related, from weight related, and bad food choices related. So he created a tool called Stop, Challenge, Choose. So what does that mean? Stop, challenge, choose. Stop is in the moment when I'm in the middle of doing an activity which I know is having negative impact on me, I'm going to stop just to reflect, right? Just refocus at that moment to say, what am I doing, right? Am I automatically reaching for something? Am I tired? Am I lonely? Am I stressed? What exactly is doing? Challenge is instead of responding by an impulse, say, why am I doing this? Why am I feeling this way? Will this serve my best interest? For me, with my 7 levels deep, my best interest is feeling valued as a human being, but me going for the chips and salsa, that's not serving my best interest, right? But having that awareness to stop in the moment, to challenge ourselves, and then choose, make the choice that you'll be proud of. I once heard a psychologist told me, he was giving a speech, he said he has a 24-hour rule. He said every choice that he makes, he reflects on how will I feel about this 24 hours from now. Will I be proud of my decision, or will I be not proud of my decision? And that was the way he helped with making a decision in the moment. There's also another tool, that's one tool to Stop, Challenge, Choose. Also Mel Robbins, very famous speaker, personal development, also has a 5-second rule, which she had a situation where she was going through severe depression, anxiety. She was unemployed, her house had a lien on it, her husband's failing business, and she kept on, when she would wake up in the morning, she would just constantly press the snooze button, not wanting to wake up because she knew what she'd have to face, the collectors at her door, whatever it was, that she knew that she was struggling with that. So one time that she was late at night, she was watching TV, she saw a spaceship flying off from NASA. And when that spaceship was going off, they counted down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then the spaceship launched. And she took that concept, that she's like, you know what, I'm going to launch myself out of bed in the morning. And she took that concept of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then boom, and it really revolutionized her entire life. She started being more self-aware, she changed her negative habits, and that's something that I think the book's in the library. I know I took it out once. So the 5-second rule, that's a good topic that, another good tool we can use. Another tool that we can use to build these habits, to build something in habits, that we can prepare in advance, right? So what I've heard from my mentors, from my health coach and different people, is to have a comfort menu, right? When we're in the situation, if I tell someone, let's say I use this example in New York, if I tell someone to go after supper, that's their weak point, that's the time where they have challenges with food, and I tell them to go take a walk instead of eating, instead of watching TV and eating, they'll go take a walk, that's very good for half the year. The other half of the year, it doesn't help. It's also very good for someone that likes taking a walk and someone that gets refreshed from it. But if someone that hates it despicably, then that's not good advice for them, because they're not going to choose that. So we have to have a menu of alternate options that we could choose of something that we would actually want ourselves. For example, I love Sudoku puzzles. I know it was a trend back probably when I was a teenager. I don't think it's revolutionized, but it's something I enjoy. I enjoy just like my mind thinking that way. It could be a puzzle, it could be doing a house project, it can be giving yourself a manicure, it could be things like watching cat videos on YouTube, if that's something that distracts you from doing negative things. So anything that works for you is something that's important, and it's even better if that activity itself is something that builds health, like taking a walk, or getting a drink of water, or calling a friend. It's good just to have more a healthier habit replace it, instead of just negating it and doing a neutral thing. But again, these are tools that we're trying to learn and trying to internalize, but we need to give ourselves grace, because habits take time to internalize, right? Like I was saying before, 22 years of me eating terribly unhealthy, to expect myself to say, you know what, 3 months, I got it. I'm just gonna completely revolutionize my entire life. That's it. I'm motivated. I got my intrinsic motivation. I know what my weaknesses are. I'm going to change my life in 3 months. And a lot of times we give ourselves that expectation. Like they always have those diets out. How fast can I lose the weight? Like, how fast can I do it? So it could be you could lose it fast, depending on how you do it, make sure it's safe and effective. But you also have to keep in mind that when we go through the challenges that we've had for all those years, and for some people it's a few months that they've struggled with weight, some people it's a few years, some people it's a few decades, whatever it is, it took us a while to ingrain those negative habits. We have to give ourselves the grace to realize that it can take a long time to build those habits. And even though there are certain things that we're changing, certain things that are easier for us to change, but certain things are much more challenging for us. So we have to really give ourselves grace for that. But there are other things that we can take care of for ourselves today to really weaken our temptations. What are the steps we can do to weaken our temptations? One of the tips that I've internalized is to set ourselves up with a healthier environment. What does a healthier environment mean? So there's really two things. One is a physical environment and a healthier social environment. The healthier environment could be, like I know my wife knows, don't keep peanut butter in the house. If there's peanut butter in the house, the jar will be gone. That's my personal weakness. So we have to realize we have to be self-aware of what our challenges are. And for example, my wife is pregnant, and she wants ice cream. I buy her the ice cream flavor that she likes, but I don't. She likes mint chocolate chip. If she bought cookie dough, we'd have another story. But I buy her the ones that she likes, but something that I'm not going to like, because it's minimizing the temptation. I don't have to use my willpower as much if I don't have the temptation in front of me. So what we could do is, one of the examples I've seen is people put a fruit bowl on their counter, because the first thing they see if they're in the mood to eat is the fruit bowl. And they're much more likely to choose a healthier option if they see that right in front of us. Also knowing our weaknesses about certain junk foods, and even if we have, like I have small kids in the house, they want junk food for snacks, they want snacks for school, so I'll have the food in the house, but I'm not going to keep it on the eye-level shelf, because that's just something that when I go into the pantry, that's the first thing I see, that's going to make it much harder for me. So I'll put it either on the bottom or in a different cabinet, which I'm not used to going to. And also replacing different ingredients we have in our house. We can create healthier ingredients in our diet. And also one interesting thing that I started doing recently is buying smaller plates. There are studies that show that the bigger plates you have like those 11-inch plates, you're eating a lot more than if you have the 9-inch plates. So getting 8.5 to 9-inch plates, besides the fact that if you're buying disposable, it's cheaper if you get smaller, but also it's just you're eating less, and that's something that we all want. We all want to have smaller portions. And then our social environment. What does it mean, our social environment? Is having like-minded people. There are studies that show that if I'm going out to a restaurant with a group of 5 friends, the first person to place the order will determine the health choices for the rest of the group. If the first person is ordering something unhealthy, it's statistically more likely for everyone else to have an unhealthier choice. If a person's a healthier option, then statistically everyone else will have a healthier option. If I'm weighing in my mind, I don't know if I want the hamburger or if I want the grilled chicken salad, and the other person's ordering something that's super fattening, then I statistically will be more likely to order the hamburger that I know I shouldn't be having. And there are studies that also show that we are most similar to the 5 people we spend the most time with, whether that's work environment, home environment. So just having that awareness is crucial for that. In addition, if you have a healthier environment, you have a healthier social environment, you can have someone help celebrate your accomplishments, help celebrate your victories. Like every time that we accomplish a milestone, whether it's something that's weight related, whether it's something that's just overall health related, there are things that we can accomplish and take pride in ourselves, so that way it makes us more likely to succeed in the future. One of the things that I enjoy a lot is the non-scale victories. Non-scale victory means it's not weight related or not on the number on the scale, but it's something that I can be proud of that I accomplished, that it's something with my being healthier, with my healthy choices, is something that I accomplished. Anyone have an example of a non-scale victory? Anything? Any ideas?
Stop drinking wine.
Stop drinking wine? Yeah. Being proud of that you stop drinking wine. I know people have non-scale victories if they fit into a pair of jeans they haven't fit into in 2 years. The fact that they get a compliment for the fact that they look very healthy and they look like they lost weight. Non-scale victories, I passed by my favorite restaurant and I didn't go in and order something I normally would have. Going to a gas station, I didn't get an ice cream with it. Different things, and these are non-scale victories. If we celebrate our non-scale victories, we celebrate those little accomplishments, that makes us more likely to succeed for long. And I know I've worked with different clients of mine. One lady said that she now wakes up without any pain in her knees because of her inflammation went down because it was weight related. So that the fact that she can wake up and get out of bed without any pain, that was huge. Is that a scale related? Is that a number? It's not a number, but it's something about being healthier. Someone can tie their shoes without getting out of breath. Different things like that. It really is important to accomplish that. And using our friends and using our social networks, our spouses, our parents, our kids, as accountability partners and as our own personal coaches, because I know I've worked with, when I was a kid, I was at 200 whatever pounds. I don't remember exactly when I went. My parents brought me to a nutritionist, and I know personally, and again, it was probably just emotional, not necessarily rational, but this nutritionist was very skinny, and I found it hard to believe that she could relate to my challenges because she probably never had any weight-related challenges, right? I've had times where I polished off an entire large pie of pizza in one sitting, and if she can't relate to that, I had a hard time understanding that. So it's very easy for us to write off someone, but if it's someone that we love, it's someone that we know, someone that's been through the struggle, things like that, that's something we can use as an accountability partner. And then, example, if you have an accountability partner, it's very hard to get caught off track if you know that they're going to be checking in with you. Like I know my wife I ask my wife, can you just make sure, when I'm at meals, make sure that I'm not eating something I shouldn't be having. I have my clients, when I call them every week, they say, you know what, I knew you were going to call me today, and I was about to have whatever it was, but I knew you would call me, and I knew I didn't want to be embarrassed about the answer, so I stayed strong. So that's something that, one of the reasons I became a coach, after going through my journey of losing over 60 pounds and keeping at a healthy weight, is because I want to be an accountability partner. I want to help people, just like they say in Alcoholics Anonymous, the 12th step is sponsor someone else. Be someone else's accountability partner, because that builds it for yourself. So even if two people are struggling with their health and they're both each other's accountability partner, even though each one can't say to the other, you know, you're not healthy yourself, but if you're on the way and you're on the path to getting healthier, that itself is huge. Those are all things that we can use for our long-term success. So I'm just gonna close in a minute and have some time for questions. So the important thing to realize is that although we have a lot of information about health at our fingertips, intuitively we know it, it's really about putting it into practice that's really the key. That's really the challenge. I mean, how many people have ever seen a video or seen a talk or something about ways to get healthier or things that we should be doing about healthier? Whether it was a Facebook meme about things that we're supposed to be doing, like a little clip, a little inspirational quote. There are things that we've seen. We've seen a lot of these things all over, but how many people have walked out inspired and done absolutely nothing different the next day? I have. I've gone to things where I know, like, oh, I'm supposed to be doing something better. I'm gonna change, but without putting anything concrete, without taking a moment to look and see what we can do ourselves to make a change, then that's gonna really make it concretize in our minds and be able to take it to the next level. And again, trying to build healthy habits is a journey. There's gonna be ups and there's gonna be downs. You're gonna have shortcomings. You're gonna have accomplishments. I'm still on the journey. Everyone's still working on their health and different things. I'm trying to work out. I'm working out. I'm drinking more water. Different things. And your first step could be something small. The first step that we can take, trying to concretize something, could be drinking an extra cup of water a day. It could be taking a 5-minute walk outside. Actually, Zig Ziglar, another motivational speaker, said he used to have a mailbox rule. The way he worked on his jogging, he knew he was out of shape. He wanted to work on his jogging. He would jog as far as he could and reach whatever house on the block he did. The next day, he would make sure to reach the next mailbox, get to the next house. Just build one more house, one more house, one more house. And after that, he started running, I think, marathons as well. So just do the small steps. It's really about small steps. It could be someone who's been avoiding the scale to start weighing yourself weekly, just to get some self-awareness. It could be what I do a lot at Publix. When I go, I'll park at the far end of the parking lot to get extra steps in, back and forth. And it's even an added motivation for me to put the shopping cart back because I know I'm getting double steps as well. It could be started by starting to take some of the foods that trigger you, stuff that's really temptations for you to get it out of your pantry. It could be starting eating every few hours to curb temptations. It could be just reaching out to a coach and looking for just to set up a plan for success. So just to summarize what we talked about here, I appreciate your time. So is that really just eating healthier and working out, it works, but you have to anticipate the challenges that lie ahead. And diets don't work because short-term plans are not good for long-term success. We need to have a strong conception of what our whys are. Again, the whys know their whys. We really have to know what our intrinsic motivation is and how it really impacts our life by us being healthier or lack thereof. We need to focus on replacing our negative habits. We need to start developing new positive habits that support long-term success, to minimize the temptations and sabotages that we have, surround ourselves with like-minded, healthy people, and to keep ourselves accountable. And we need to take the first step now. And so I want everyone just to take with them that what first step they're going to take today, that you can look back a year from now and realize, because again, October 2nd, 2020 is going to be there no matter what. So what will we be October 2nd, 2020 that we can take with us for the rest of our lives? Thank you very much. Any questions? Okay, well, I'll be on the side. I have a sign-up sheet over there. If anyone would like, I send out a weekly newsletter with recipes, health tips, motivations. Friends send out a free ebook as well about the Stop Challenge Choose. I can send that out as well. And then my business card is over there. Thank you very much. Yes.
Can you recommend some books that might help us, something to read from the library? Books to read.
Sure. In what area specifically?
Well, what you're talking about, the motivation to lose weight.
Yeah. So a book that I have actually, it's a free ebook. I can send it by email. It's called Stop Challenge Choose. Stop Challenge Choose. That's a good book I have. Also, another book, a few books of the habit related. So Charles Duhigg has a book called The Power of Habit. Mel Robbins has a book, The 5-Second Rule.
What was the author on Stop Challenge Choose?
Dr. Wayne Scott Anderson.
Anderson.
Yeah.
And the other one, The Power of Habit?
Is Charles Duhigg. D-U-H-I-G.
D what?
D-U-H-I-G.